Husband rejected a simple snip and blamed me for my constant pregnancies, comparing me to my attacker, leaving me to question our future. My husband, 28 male, who I will call Jack, and I, 27F, have been together for 4 years. We have 2 young children and I am pregnant again. I have been pregnant for what feels like most of our relationship. I got pregnant 4 months into our relationship. We got married a month before our daughter's first birthday and ended up with a honeymoon baby. After our son was born, I talked to my OB and she put me on birth control and I have been taking it militantly. My daughter is now 3 and my son is 2. A little over a month ago I discovered I am pregnant again, despite taking my birth control religiously. Abortion is banned in my state, and the pregnancy was discovered too far along to attempt to obtain one out of state. While Jack and I were nervous, we also loved being parents and decided that 3 young kids would be a challenge, but 3 was a good number for us. Then we went in for the first ultrasound and got some unexpected news: it's twins. Things have been tough financially, and while we were stressed but excited for a 3rd child, we were not expecting a 3rd and 4th child. Beyond the finances, I am the primary caretaker and I know that twins is going to be a lot. 3 children under 5 is already a lot, but 4 children under 5 is going to be really difficult for me. Physically, I am tired of being pregnant. I've been pregnant or breastfeeding the majority of our relationship. It's exhausting, it feels awful, and I don't recognize my body anymore. 4 children is enough. I don't want more. I told Jack that I was done with pregnancy. I've been pregnant enough. I've been experimenting with different types of birth control for over a decade and I still can't stop getting pregnant. Abortion isn't a valid option where we live. We need something more permanent. He agreed, and suggested an IUD. I told him no. If it did fail then it could cause an ectopic pregnancy which could kill me, especially where we live. I've had both control fail me multiple times already and I'm not taking the chance, so I suggested a vasectomy. He was not open to the idea, and was even upset that I suggested it and told me I should get my tubes tied. I told him a tubal ligation is a much bigger surgery and I could be recovering for weeks, during which time I wouldn't be able to work or take care of our 4 young children, but he could ice his balls for a day or 2 and be done with it. He told me that not getting pregnant was ultimately my responsibility, and topped it off by saying that's what your body, your choice means, your body, so you choose. That's when it went from a discussion to a full-blown fight. See, when I was 19 I had another birth control failure with my boyfriend at the time, who I will call Tom. I wanted an abortion. Tom did not because he was opposed. I told him I was getting the abortion since it was my body and my choice, and Tom said some horrible things to me, including threatening me. I broke up with him and got the abortion. In response, Tom ended up following me one night and attacking me. I don't want to go into detail but it was horrible, and he ended up going to prison for a number of charges related to the attack. Not only do I have a number of scars and some long-lasting physical effects, but I have PTSD as well. Jack knows about my history and diagnosis, and has known from the beginning. I have a pretty prominent facial scar, so I was upfront about it early on in our dating. Jack always presented himself as very pro-choice, so I was shocked that he would say that. I got really emotional and started crying and shouting, and it turned into a full-blown fight. Eventually I said that birth control is a two-way street and so far I've been the only one managing it, and he said, and now we have 2 kids and 2 more coming. Great job. I told him he sounded like Tom and he got super pissed, basically said how dare you compare me to him, and maybe he might want kids one day with someone who doesn't compare him to her felon ex-boyfriend. I was stunned and horrified. I said, well then let's not waste any fucking time, then packed up myself and the kids and drove to my parents' place. It's been about a week since the fight. I've spoken with Jack a few times and he has since apologized and said he was out of line and was speaking from a place of anxiety after finding out about the twins, but also that I said things that were out of line and it was wrong of me to insist he undergo a medical procedure. He said that can move on from the things I said and that he wants to see his children and be a family again. I told him no, that I didn't want to move on from the things he said to me. I can't just get over that and I think we need space apart. Jack was upset by this, and while we talked I brought up getting a separation agreement to manage custody and finances while we figure things out. He did not like this suggestion, said we didn't need to pull the courts into this. I haven't told a lot of people about what's happening but my family and a couple close friends. My sister and best friend both think I should throw the whole man away, but my brother, who is the only other one married with kids, thinks that I'm being extreme for what sums up to a fight between 2 scared people who both said nasty things. My mom is trying to be supportive but is occasionally reminding me that I don't want to be a single mother of 4 and telling me not to let my PTSD drive my decisions, while my dad is being completely unhelpful. He thinks jokes are helpful, like calling me doorknob because I can't stop getting knocked up, telling me to let the oven cool down, real knee slappers. I don't know what to do. My kids are happy to be at grandma and grandpa's house but they miss their daddy. I'm 4 months pregnant and already uncomfortable as hell. I wish I could go back to being a happy little family but I'm so hung up on the things he said in that fight. Am I destroying my family over one bad night? Am I being unreasonable for asking my husband to get a vasectomy? Edit, I've noticed a lot of people recommending condoms. I have gotten pregnant with condoms twice. Our second child and my first pregnancy were both conceived using condoms properly, correct fit, put on correctly, single use, not expired, no breaks, etc. I do not trust condoms enough to not fail a 3rd time. I know the failure rate is supposedly small, but it's not personally small enough for me. Edit to the edit, I'm sorry, I didn't expect so many comments so fast and I can't keep up with them. By the first pregnancy I mean the pregnancy with Tom. With Jack I was on the patch when I got pregnant with our daughter, condoms with our son, and the pill with the twins. So far I haven't ever suspected that Jack has tampered with our birth control and always presumed that I'm a fertile myrtle. I recognize the comments and just want people to know I'm seeing the suggestion. I'm not dismissing it, but the thought of it is deeply upsetting and has provoked a lot of anxiety. I just wanted to make it clear that if the suggestion is only based on the condoms, that the condom pregnancies were with two different partners. While I know I always used condoms properly with Tom, I do believe that Tom could have been fully capable of sabotaging the condoms. Update 1. I didn't expect so many comments and literally couldn't go through them all. It seemed like the majority of people said I was NTA, but I did get a lot of UTAs telling me I was trying to force him to get a medical procedure and telling me to get one instead. Besides already addressing my reasonings why I made my request in the original post, which I want you to read with real per my last email energy, I in no way am forcing / him to have a medical procedure, but I am saying that I do not want to be with a partner who is not willing to be snipped. This is an issue of compatibility. The number of children you want, the methods of birth control you're willing to use, those are issues of compatibility and a reason relationships end all the time. If he doesn't want to be sterilized, that's fine, but then that means that we're not compatible anymore, since it means he wants more children and I don't. Beyond that, there were some UTA comments and some DMs that were just nasty, calling me a murderer and saying my body is a cemetery. Sadly enough, I expected those types of comments, because I know there are a lot of Toms out in the world. First I wanted to address a couple things that kept coming up, because last post turned into thousands of comments that all said about 5 different things, so to avoid my inbox becoming another echo chamber, you're 100% going to have a C-section anyway, so just get a tubal while giving birth. No, I'm not 100% going to have a C-section anyway. Twins are not an automatic C-section. With my birth history there is no reason to presume that a C-section is in my future. My OB agrees, and has discussed the possibility as doctors have to do, but also said that based on my past 2 birth experiences, I'm a perfect candidate for vaginal delivery. I also am not going to mince words, tubal ligations are less / effective than vasectomies with a much higher / likelihood of an ectopic pregnancy. Ectopic pregnancy can kill me / In fact, I got a PM from a woman who is a fellow fertile myrtle who had an ectopic after a tubal. I am rejecting birth control options that, if they fail, would lead to my likely death. I don't want to be pregnant again, but I also don't want to die and leave my children motherless, and in no way should anyone assume that traveling to another state to obtain an emergency abortion will continue to be an option in the future. We live in scary times, and Gilead is a real possibility. The comments seem to have the vibe that people think that ligations are magically more effective than vasectomies, and vasectomies are more of a whisper of sterility than an actual sterilization method, so for those in the back, vasectomies are more effective than tubal ligations, full stop. So I really need y'all to shut up about it. Go to another state and obtain an abortion anyway. I appreciate the personal offers to help I received in DMs deeply, but no. I'm in my 2nd trimester, which I know is still legal in some places. However, I am at a point in my pregnancy where I personally as an individual do not feel comfortable obtaining an abortion, considering I would be even farther / along by the time I could travel, which is not only finances, but logistics as well. I am 16 weeks pregnant now. These babies aren't just clusters of cells to me anymore, and I'm not going to expand on that since it's not up for debate. Why not adoption? With love and respect to everyone who has gone through adoption in all its aspects, adoption is absolutely not for me. This is a thought process I already went through 8 years ago, and now that I'm a mother and not a scared teenager, I know it's even less for me. I personally could not go through with it and come out the other side intact. Going through a full pregnancy, having my babies, and then being separated from them would break me. Leave him and give him full custody of the twins? No. Because going through a full pregnancy, having my babies, and then being separated from them would break me. Jesus, some of y'all just have a sexless marriage. No. I love banging my husband, obviously lol. I don't want to be in a sexless marriage, and anyone who has been to an abstinence-only high school knows that abstinence is not the way lol. There were a lot of comments assuming I would be perfectly fine with holding sex from my husband and having not dead bedroom, and I wouldn't. I have a sex drive. I'm going to want to bang my husband. Wanting to have sex with your spouse is normal / what you would do about birth control if you divorced and dated in the future. I'm not thinking of dating anyone else right now, because I'm thinking more about saving my actual marriage instead of an imaginary relationship. And if theoretically I did, I would probably seek out a partner who was snipped or was ready to be honestly, or a woman. I'm bisexual, so there's a very good chance that my future partner wouldn't have the right parts to knock me up anyway lol. Jack is sabotaging your birth control. I clarified my methods in the original post, as per my last email, but I did want to address this because it came up a lot. I don't have reason to believe that Jack sabotaged my birth control. A number of other fertile myrtles showed up and brought up they or their family members repeated pregnancies in the face of birth control, including tubals. Accusing my husband of reproductive coercion for no reason other than I keep getting pregnant is a big leap and a weighty accusation. I am not the only fertile myrtle out there, there's a reason there's a whole term for it. Your husband is a narcissist, abuser, psychopath, and he does no childcare. My husband and I historically have a really healthy and loving relationship outside of this fight. In fact, this fight is the first time we've really had a fight. We've only ever had little arguments that we've been able to talk through. He's an active father. The reason that I do the majority of childcare is due to circumstance between maternity leaves, our job schedules, and the fact that I breastfed my babies. Someone also presumed I'm the breadwinner, which isn't quite true. Jack makes more than me, but we do not have deeply significant differences in our incomes. When he is home, he does his fair share of cleaning and cooking, arguably more than me at times, and parenting. That being said, the things he said in the heat of the moment were deeply concerning, and we're addressing that together. So to get down to the nitty-gritty of the real update, since the last time I posted, Jack and I have sat down together and had a real come to Jesus talk. I'm not going to go through the whole breakdown, but it basically boiled down to this. It's the vasectomy, but it's more than the vasectomy. It was wrong of me to compare him to Tom, but it was wronger of him to weaponize my trauma against me in a very malicious way. The way he intentionally used the same language my abuser used in an effort to hurt me was not acceptable and damaged the trust between us. He agreed it was not acceptable and said that in the aftermath he was horrified and ashamed his own words, and that he, as an explanation and not an excuse, kind of snapped under the stress. Oh, and what he said about his next wife was not an indication of him not being committed to me, but was because he felt hurt and wanted to hurt me back. He has apologized numerous times and seems to feel genuinely bad about it. As for the separation, I am still going forward with it. I need space and time, and I need to take that before the babies come. I am still staying with my parents who, for the record, are not sick of me or the kids. We're a tight-knit family. I only moved out when I moved in with Jack, and my sister moved out about a year ago, so they have been empty nesting, and my mom doesn't like that we live too far, an hour away. What I have realized with space and time is how deeply triggering it was, in a way that I cannot explain to those without PTSD from DV. Those who know will know. It's deeply unsettled me and I'm having a hard time getting over it, so to speak. There is now a lot of fear of my husband that was never there before, and it's going to take a lot to repair that trust and sense of safety. I cannot make a decision while I'm in this space, and I am addressing this with my personal therapist. Overall, I told him that if he wanted to stay married to me, I needed two things from him: marriage counseling and a vasectomy, and even then I still cannot guarantee him anything. He understands, but I do not know what will happen with the vasectomy right now. We focused more on talking about the fight, but he is very aware that it's now a deal breaker. And we have a marriage counseling appointment set up for next week. I'm hoping that counseling will bring some clarity to the situation, and in the meantime for the next couple months I'm focusing on giving my kids lots of cuddles and preparing myself for two new babies to come into my world, with or without Jack. I've been through a trial to convict my ex-boyfriend of trying to kill me because of an abortion in a deep red, deeply religious area. I've definitely heard worse things, and I typically have pretty thick skin. That being said, I am pregnant and pretty emotional, so it's not the best experience. That being said, I do appreciate the level-headed comments when I see them through the sea of comments kind of saying the same stuff over and over. I'm not reading a lot of them if what I can see in the comment notification starts off nasty, so a lot of it is just inbox white noise. My favorites are the ones that start off with "I'm not going to read that but." And I just think lol same. Like you don't want to read my post but expect me to read your comment that was made without even reading the situation? Lol nope. And there are a lot of people conflating providing someone with a hard choice with forcing someone into a medical procedure, and it just makes waiting through for the actually helpful comments more tiring. Thank you though, I very much appreciate the kindness. Sorry, I've gotten so much of the same nonsense, I guess I needed a little vent lol. I want to be honest with him about where I am emotionally because I want him to make an informed decision. While the vasectomy is a deal breaker, it's really my secondary concern. My primary concern is the way he acted during the fight and his intention exploitation of my trauma because he was mad and scared. I think that telling him get the snip to stay with me and then deciding to leave anyway because there are deeper issues and or I don't feel safe anymore would be cruel. He deserves to have the full picture before he makes a choice, doesn't he? If he doesn't want the vasectomy, that's his choice. It's not what I want, but it is what it is. If he wants to call it quits at 4 kids, then it is what it is, and if he secretly wants to be the next Nick Cannon, then it is what it is. He should be free to do that. That is part of why I don't know where he is on the vasectomy right now, and we didn't really discuss it much when we talked. I'm focusing on discussing the bigger issue for me, which is trust and safety within the relationship. The only way for him to make an informed decision about whether or not he get a vasectomy is for him to have all the information about the situation. If that makes him want a vasectomy less, then it is what it is. It's not about making him want to have a vasectomy. It's about being on the same page. Update 2. I kind of haven't wanted to update because I know a lot of people felt a lot of different ways about the original posts. I have still been consistently receiving comments since I posted last, so I figured it was worth updating, because a lot has happened. Since the last time I posted, we went through with the separation and kept 50-50 custody, though we did only share this with those closest to us. We also started going to couples counseling weekly, and TLDR we both had a lot of stuff to work through. And we both put in a lot of work. I'm not going to share what his reasoning for his aversion to the vasectomy was, but he did share with me, and he did have some beliefs about masculinity that he had to deconstruct. We did a lot of work at the heart of the issue, which was his weaponization of my trauma in a fight. That was always the biggest issue, far more than the vasectomy. We did a lot of work around that, since it did open up the doors to a lot of deeper stuff with us both. We stuck to the agreed upon separation time, since we both wanted to resolve this one way or another before the twins are born. While we did the work with our therapist, we did not talk about the vasectomy during this time, outside of structured discussions in therapy, and our therapist believed with our situation it was best that Jack's choice to snip or not be a non-discussion so we could focus on the real deeper issues at hand. It did help focus discussions to be more productive, but it did mean I've been in the dark about it. There's been a lot of soul searching, a lot of come to Jesus discussions between Jack and me. There were things he said in therapy and in conversation that lead me to believe he is deeply regretful of his words, understands the gravity of them, and is doing the work to never do it again. He hasn't once said anything that reinforced those ideas or implied he truly believed what he said. I've been open to and listening to his words, while also being aware it could be lip service. The agreed upon separation is at an end. We had our final therapy appointment within the separation period recently, and some things have happened during this time with our families that have provided a lot of complications and some clarity. Jack went through with the vasectomy. He iced his balls for a day and was fine. No, I did not force him, it was his own decision. And no, I did not end the separation immediately after he did, and yes, he knew that was the case that when he did. We still did the work. He is not castrated, he is not emasculated, he is the same man he was before, just shooting blanks, and he did not develop some rare disorder from it. He actually got snipped shortly after we started therapy, and couldn't tell me because of the vasectomy talk moratorium. He did not get snipped to have sexual access to me, he didn't, and I'm still freaking pregnant anyway. He did not do it to save the marriage, and we still did the work and are doing the work. We are going to continue therapy together and in the process of reunifying. So we are still together, my husband is snipped, but now we have some really difficult decisions to make about the viability of living in this state and raising our children here. Following reunification, our next big hurdle to jump is what to do about living here. This is something Jack and I have been talking about in passing for a couple years and again recently. This is not something I've blindsided him with, this is not brand new information. This is actually a conversation that's been going on for years between us and just happens to be coming to a head around now, since most of the reason we've stayed has been to stay close to my family. His family is more spread out and less close. Both my sister and my brother plus his wife have recently experienced things that lead them to no longer feel safe here, and my sister at least has already decided to move, after what's happened to her and how the laws here made it so much more traumatizing for her. We have one daughter, and in the next few months we may have up to 3 daughters. How can we justify raising them here, knowing how the state would treat them? So that's where we are. We are still together, we are still actively working on our relationship and going to therapy, couples and individual for both. He got the vasectomy and is doing great. Our next hurdle is figuring out if we want to continue living in the state that has proven to be dangerously hostile. Don't know what else to say, that's pretty much it right now. I know that the initial issue has overall been resolved, but now somehow there's still a lot of uncertainty about the future, but I guess that's life. Anyway, that's all, y'all. Oh. And check out jobs in Minnesota. We have your back. Update 3. Okay, y'all. Here's the wildest and absolute freshest update yet, and if you thought things were starting to calm down, nope. That would be boring, and fate has a different idea of rest than I do. First, some basics. Yes, I'm still pregnant with twins. No, my back does not have workers' comp, and at this point, I'm convinced my uterus could be a circus tent for the next small country. Jack and I are technically still separated, but the lines are blurring as we work through reconciliation and logistics. Think soft open for the idea of living together again. The kids and I are splitting time between my parents' house and our old house as we figure out the best path forward. But the real drama in the past month? Buckle in. After my last update, things with Jack progressed from tense but civil to bizarrely almost collaborative. As in, he became my unexpected partner in chaos during an absolute Murphy's Law level family crisis. Here's how that unraveled. My sister, M, the one who plans on moving, ended up in the ER after a close encounter with some nightmare driver on her commute. She's fine, just stitches, major bruising, and a right hook to her faith in local drivers. My mom, in peak mother hen mode, collapsed from the stress and wound up staying overnight for cardiac observation. She's also okay, just apparently allergic to calm. My dad was thoroughly unequipped for crisis management, so Jack and I ended up tag teaming. Him helping with the kids/laundry/floral arrangements, me shuttling people and running interference between my dad's lighten up jokes and the actual tension in the air. It sounds dark, but, honestly, Jack was incredible. And I'm keeping it real, I found myself appreciating him. Like the old partnership dynamic. He was the steady hand, medications scheduled, groceries secured, attention paid to 3 needy kids and 1 clumsy pregnant wife. It felt like actual teamwork, and for the first time in months, the old sense of this is my person floated back. But that's not the real headline here. What completely floored, and honestly, shook, me was this: while hunting for my mom's insurance card in an overflowing folder at their place, I came across a battered envelope with Tom's name scrawled on the back. My hands literally started shaking. I haven't seen or touched anything with his handwriting in years, since the trial. I sat on the edge of the bed, completely locked up. Jack found me there, silent. I tried to play it off, but I guess my face was enough. I'll make this part brief, as it's a trauma flavor most people don't want long form. The envelope was from post-trial, some stray piece of the case file my mom had kept just in case. Old news clippings, a police report copy, a letter to me I never opened. But the important moment here? Jack sat quietly and waited, no fixing, no lecturing, just sat with me and held my hand. He finally asked, "Do you want me to go or to stay?" And for whatever reason, it split me open in the best way. I ugly cried for about 10 minutes straight. That night, we talked at a depth we hadn't in ages, about my trauma, my fear, my anger at my body, what safety meant when it comes from a person versus a place. Jack apologized again for the fight, only this time, it wasn't the stilted couples therapy apology, but the kind you give in a dark room when everything else feels unimportant. It wasn't groveling, it wasn't about him, it was just genuine. Here's the kicker: after I finally slept, I woke up and found my dad, yes, doorknob specialist, quietly packing the entire box of Tom trial paraphernalia and tucking it in his truck. He caught my eye and just said, "We'll take care of it." For the rest of the day, he actually, wait for it, acted like a human being, not a sitcom character. He played with my daughter, made soup, and told me, awkwardly, but firmly, that he'd support me no matter where we stuffed our overgrown family next. I knew my parents loved me, but sometimes the circus falls away and you glimpse a little competence and compassion peeking through their quirk. So, where are we now? Well, the big takeaway, besides a highly therapeutic burn the past and make soup session, is this: family isn't always about the shape you planned. Sometimes it means negotiating new dynamics, like forgiving Jack for what I now see was an intersection of our worst fears and our worst version of each other. But I also realized, it's time to move forward, which means major plans. So here's the double twist ending no one saw coming. Will Jack and I move into the same house? Not yet. But we'll be close. The kids will have 2 places, maybe someday 1. We're still doing couples therapy. And we've started a joint Google Doc labeled, with all the improvisational wit we could muster, post-Tom, post-twins, post-red state survival plan. A couple more wild moments. At my latest OB appointment, the ultrasound tech double-checked everything. Thanks, birth control lottery winner status. Surprise, twins are still twins, but, and here's the surprise, they're likely fraternal and, based on early markers, one's a girl and one's a boy. Our family text chain went bananas with name suggestions ranging from Jack Jr. and Jill, hard no, to Han and Leia. My brother thinks he's the jokester now. My best friend surprised me with a massive going-away party. And by party, I mean kid tornado in a pizza restaurant and my mom decked out in a Minnesota Vikings jersey for some reason. Jack came, sat with my dad, and for the first time since the fight, all the adults in my life sat together without sniping. Progress, TL, DR, except don't TL, DR, because holy moly, Jack had the vasectomy, we did the therapy, we faced my trauma together in a way that actually felt, finally, like partnership, and now, with 2 tiny humans on the way, we're shipping out for a new start. The marriage is healing, but not perfect. The family is bigger, and a little bruised, but mine. And for the first time in forever, buried under all the uncertainty, I feel something like hope. To anyone reading this, if you're waiting for permission to nuke your old life and build another, here it is. Catch you in the land of ice and lakes, where hopefully birth control works better and the only thing multiplying rapidly is my patience. Ha.